Welcome to Laugh, Cry, or Die, a comedy disability podcast hosted by me, Steve Wilbury, and my co-host, Naomi Strain.
Hello.
We suck at life and tell you all about it so you don't have to.
We certainly do. And get
We're
our therapy done at the same time.
This podcast is all about life lived on the other side of normal. We talk about disability topics and stuff and random things and get a bit dark. So strap in.
And see what happens.
Strap in and strap on.
Strap on. And I was immediately going to go down a dark path, but I'll wait and see where the conversation goes.
Leave it like 45 seconds before whatever horrible date rape fantasy that you have.
Horrible dark fantasy. No, we don't want to go there.
No. That is a route straight to demonetization.
That's on the R18 podcast on our other channel.
Sexy disabled time.
It's a niche market, but it is a market.
It legitimately is. I was like looking around the disability podcast space, and there are a few that are like about being a sexy disabled person.
Well, see, you were Googling sex with spazzes.
No,
if
I was Googling
you're gonna
for
find
sex who would have people who would have sex with a spaz, trying to find someone to assuage my loneliness.
Yeah, but you're the spaz. You can only have one spaz in the bedroom at a time.
Well, if you have two, it's a health and safety nightmare.
Exactly. That's when you need an observer. You need somebody just to keep you safe. Just we all
Speaking
need
of
that
observers, it's a little bit off topic already, but that's fine.
Ready.
When I worked as a disability support worker before I myself was disabled, we had a kind of elderly blind gentleman, and he wasn't that disabled, but he'd been in an institution for like 40 years, so he became pretty disabled.
Yeah.
And he was always complaining that when he was in the hospital, that you could get sex for like cigarettes or, a pudding cup with the other inmates in the hospital, right?
Fantastic.
And he was like, I can't get laid anymore. And we are like, sucks to be you. And then one of the support workers was like, well, what if we took him to Amsterdam from the UK? And in Amsterdam, there are social sex workers whose whole remit is like giving people who wouldn't normally get to access intimacy that nice feeling.
Everybody is entitled to that, so why not?
Everyone's entitled, and if they have money, they can buy it.
Yeah, and if you can get like sex workers into like retirement homes and stuff, which you can, there's a whole big debate on that, but why not?
Because in the UK it's illegal, and here it's decriminalized at least, so it's a bit more reasonable.
Yeah,
but we had
I mean, morally, ethically,
morally, I don't think there's any question. No.
Yeah,
somebody did have to call up a UK equivalent of WINS and be like, so can we spend government money on sex for a spaz?
because it'd be a benefit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was his benefit money that he saved up. And then they were like, once we give it to him, it's his money and he can do whatever he wants. Please don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know.
That's awesome. Do you know if he did? Do you know if he went and did it?
Yeah, he did. I know he did. I know one of the I think it was one or two support workers had to go with him and then wait in the other room.
Right. So they didn't literally have to be in the same room.
They didn't have to observe. I presume the sex support workers had like first aid certificates or something, so it was fine. And they and then he kept like telling people on the plane about it. He was like stoked about, and he would not shut up about it.
I love that.
Especially because I'm pretty sure he's dead now, but he at first there was trouble getting the action going. So then like two women came in, and he had like two at the same time, and this was like the best thing that had ever happened
He
in
was
his
totally
literally
playing
entire
that.
life.
Totally playing that. Oh, I need a third one.
It's like, oh
Then
no, it's not
4 of
working.
you.
Oh no.
I fell
Oh
over.
darn. But yeah, he had a great time.
Love it.
And I think the moral of the story is everyone deserves to get laid.
Yeah, and everyone deserves to spend their benefit money in whatever dodgy, nefarious means they like. Fully encouraged it. Sod food, buy a
Yes,
hooker.
done. You
Yeah,
can eat pussy for lunch.
wasn't expecting that, but yes. So what have
It's
you been
like a
spending your
food.
what have you been spending your benefit money on this week?
I've been spending my benefit money on inner health plus probiotics.
Yeah, well, that's more fun.
Uh,
Yeah, great.
well, I've really been struggling with this thing called pouchitis.
Hmm. Oh, sleepy Steve.
And it's where the microbiome of my reconstructed intestine gets all messed up. So you've got like good bacteria in your large intestine and stuff that does they're all, you see all these articles about all the different crazy things your microbiome does.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've got one in your J pouch as well, and mine can get fucked up if I eat the wrong stuff or if it's Tuesday. And good Lord, like it just flattens you. Like my stomach gets fully distended.
Right. Is it like super painful or uncomfortable?
My stomach gets really distended. I have like no, I'm like sitting in a chair, panting, just like,
Right.
and just everything is a enormous difficulty.
You were treating that with kaffir leaves?
Yeah, so I take kefir and no, not kefir leaves. It's kefir yogurt,
Okay.
which is like extra microbe yogurt.
Right.
And kefir and apple cider vinegar. I was using that to kind of like maintain it, but then I keep getting these like it'll be fine, and then it stops being fine, and it'll be fine, and then it stops being fine. So I've trying an actual like pill now to see if I can stay on top. Because when it would get really bad, I'd take the this is such a boring podcast. When it get really bad, I would take the pills to get on top of it, and then I use the yogurt and the apple cider vinegar to maintain it, which means I have to drink a glass of apple cider vinegar at night, which makes me attractive.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
I do dilute it. Otherwise, you have to drink straight apple cider vinegar, which will burn a hole in your throat.
Yeah, and that'd be nice to add on to all your other internal issues, is to burn your throat out as well. Yeah.
But then I could have a hole and people could stick dick butts in it.
Stick their butts in it?
No, dick butts.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, cute little dick butt. I like that. It was so much more wholesome than the picture I sent you, though. Disgusting. That's an awful, awful picture.
Are you going to tell it? Are you going to describe it for our listeners, Naomi?
Hell no. It burned my eyes. And my eyes have seen some stuff. Things I've seen in Nam.
I saw sperm the size of a man's fist.
Stomp it to death. Yeah.
How's your week been, Naomi? How much spazzing have you done?
I've been so tired lately. Like I'm always tired. But in the last 2 weeks, I've been in hospital 3 times.
That's too many.
It is too many. And apparently one of the times I woke up and my first words, the nurse said, "You're in hospital, don't worry." And my first words were, "Oh, fuck." That kind of tells you how I feel about it.
It must just be so disconcerting. So how often do you know you're about to have a seizure versus like you're dusting and then you're like, oh, fuck, I'm in the hospital?
Pretty much I am just being a normal human in the world. And then I wake up in hospital and I don't remember anything in the middle. Occasionally I will go like, oh, I feel kind of dizzy or a bit weird, and I'll sit down, and I may either, just fall off the sofa and wake up, or I may wake up to paramedics in the house or in hospital. And that kind of then makes a bit of sense. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that I understand what happened. But other times it's just like I'll be sitting here doing this and then blink and I'm in hospital. And it's very weird.
That's
Yeah.
so wild.
I know, right? It's like I've transported or something.
Yeah, it's like you can teleport
Yeah, I've
to
fallen
one
into a
specific
portal.
shitty destination.
Yeah, if I was going to plan it, so I need to get in and reprogram that. I'm going to wind up somewhere cool. But like
Yeah,
the
it'd be
first
like
thing
Costa
generally,
Rica.
yeah, normally the first thing I see is the ceiling of the ED ward. And then it's like, okay, I figure out where I am. And then it's, which cubicle am I in today? It's about as exciting as it gets. But the reason I like to know which cubicle is that I can then work out the quickest and easiest way to get out. Like, am I going to have to tiptoe past the nurses' station so I don't get caught, or can I sneak out the side? Or yeah, because I like to.
Is there like other than like escape potential? Is there are there better cubicles? Is there one that you're like, oh sweet, I'm in number 2?
Well, I know the ones that it's preferable to not be in, and that's the recess ones, because that's where your massive poorly people go. So if you wake up there, it's not good. But a lot of the time, well, I don't know a lot of time, but times when I've woken up there has generally been overflow because ED itself has got full. But yeah, like when I was on life support, that'd be the bit I was taken into, or when people have had big car crashes. And actually, one of the times I was in hospital recently was I'd woken up and they said, "Oh, can you just have a seat?" And they like just got a little chair out by the resus place and said, "Oh, just take a seat there. We're just waiting for some blood tests to come back, and just chill out." And then I was, just people watching, and then over the emergency phone, I think that the ambulance phones and said, "Hey, we're bringing in XYZ," and it sounded like 2 extremely injured people were going to be coming in, and people started rushing around a bit and preparing both of the resus bays and talking about like intubating people. So obviously these people weren't breathing very well. And I was like, I don't want to be sitting here because it's right by the ambulance bay. And like, I don't want to be sitting waiting for blood test results when 2 massively injured people come in. And I also didn't want to interrupt the nurses. So I was like, excuse me. Oh, no, I can't ask anyone. Excuse me. Until I just said to one of the nurses, I don't want to sit here and watch what's coming in because it sounds awful and I want to go now, please. And she was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So, yeah, I did a runner at that point. Because
Was it one of the ones where people stop being people and become physics?
Yes. Yeah, like how do we patch this back together again? Yeah. So I did a runner on that one, and I think it was justified. I think my level of poorliness was like a 2, and they were probably, yeah.
How are you feeling on this chart of 1 to car crash?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, I'm a priority. I'm waiting for blood test results. I was here first.
Yeah, just like camping out in the recess room, being like, no,
I'll stay here.
go full Karen. I want to speak to the manager of the ED.
But yeah, so that's not a good one to wait, not a good cubicle to wake up in. There's ones that are nearer the door, they're good. Nearer the bathroom, they're good. But it's the ones, the main ones are along the nurses' station, and you know that you can be, they're going to have eyes on you a lot, and that's more difficult to escape from. Not necessarily escape, but yeah.
There was a meme, and it was like, it's amazing to me how boomers reacted to their own kids not doing what they tell them to because they're so mean and angry about it, by just doubling down forever and becoming even meaner and even angrier about it for all time.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Like I look at Gen Z and the Gen Alpha and whatever, and I'm just like, God, no one told me growing up as an elder millennial that you could just fuck everything. Just literally everything. Be whatever whatever, not whoever, whatever the fuck you want. You can identify as a cat and shit in a bathroom, according to conservatives. That
Oh,
never happened. That's not a real thing.
yeah, I hate this, even on like really local. It's not just on big media, but like on local community groups. They're like, oh, at the local school, I heard they've got cat litter in the bathrooms. It's like, no, they haven't. Like, grow up. It's like
Mm,
people, they get angry about invented situations.
mm.
And it really pisses me off. It's like, why are people so desperate to be offended or make up imaginary situations that if it happened, I'd be very angry? It's like, well, wait till it happens and then be angry. You don't have to preempt something that hasn't and won't ever happen.
Also, like, let's play this mind game of, okay, there's a kid somewhere shitting in a box. What the fuck does it have to do with you? It's like being mad at Santa Claus.
Yeah. And why does it matter if they did?
Exactly. There's
And
no
it's like, if some
so.
kid in America said, "But this is how I feel," it's like, "But okay, does not affect my life whatsoever.
Hmm.
I don't need
Yeah,
to get on Facebook and start moaning about it."
it's not like it used to be. I mean, God, even, in our lifetimes, the difference between the pre-internet era and then the internet era and then the social internet era
Mm-mm.
are so extreme. To somebody who grew up in the 40s when tinned food was an amazing new invention, not quite, but when like sliced bread was literally new.
Yeah, yeah,
It's such an extreme change. I can see why people would be, like, I don't want to say triggered about it, basically, but they're just so mad.
yeah, and refuse to even give any little sort of possibility that they might be wrong. It's like, I consider myself a constant work in progress. Like,
Mm,
I've got stuff wrong in the past, and every time there's a new bit of information that challenges you, everyone has that knee-jerk reaction. Like, I asked somebody what the gender of their baby. Yeah, they were pregnant. I'm like, oh, you having a boy or a girl?
mm.
And they said, why is that a relevant question?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've told this one before. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it is just like, what does it matter? It's a
yeah.
baby.
But your knee-jerk reaction to that, like, obviously not allowed, but I was like, oh, well, it's a normal question to ask. That's no big
Mm.
deal. And it's like, okay, I'll sit with that for a sec. And it's like, actually, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's an
And I
irrelevant
mean,
question.
I think part of that, comes down to spazziness, because we've been proven wrong about the ultimate thing, is that I'm normal like everyone else and I'm fine. And Pete Holmes has this thing where people go through their lives and they say, not me, not today. Yeah, horrible things happen. People die. Not me, not today. Today, I'm going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. Not me, not today.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when maybe me, maybe today just makes everything such more of an open question, that it
yes,
allows
yeah,
more room for, yeah, okay, some kid wants to shit in a box. All right.
yeah, yeah.
As
It
well
does.
as those other introspections of, like, maybe I made a mistake, maybe I didn't have enough
Yeah,
information.
and like looking at your own sort of failings
Mm,
makes you sort of less judgmental towards other people. It's like, it's definitely made me a better person. Like, I like to think that I've always been pretty accepting, you
mm,
know. But having seizures made me even more so, because if I see somebody on the street being a bit wrong,
mm,
that in the past I think I'd have kind of gone like, oh yeah, this person's gone a bit wrong, but it's probably drink or drugs or
mm.
mental or whatever.
Yeah,
Whereas now I do kind of take a second and be like, actually, they might need a bit of help, or even, are they going
yeah.
to
You
have
just take
seizure?
take a minute to assess and be like, do they need help, or are they actually? Oh no, they're just
Yeah,
really quite drunk. They should
and
they should be fine.
even if they are, if it is just drink or drugs,
Mm,
it's like, oh, that person still needs a little bit of support. Like yesterday, this guy, I was in town, this guy came up and looked like a normal bloke, and he came up and he was like, I'm so sorry about last night. And I said, I'm really sorry, but I don't know you. And he went, I know, I wasn't myself. I was like, shit, okay. And he was beating himself up. He was feeling like he'd let people down, and that he needs to work on himself, and he's trying, but his anxiety gets in the way, and he's letting people like me down. And I thought, okay, this guy, he's not going to get back into sort of my reality right now.
Mm,
So I just went with it.
yeah.
And I just said, like, hey, the fact that you're questioning things is really good, that you're open to, you might not have been,
Mm,
all right. And we had a good old chat, and he was, thanking me for my outlook on life, and that I'm a good person. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'll have that.
mm,
Thanks. But it's like, I think in the past, like before I was a spaz, I don't know, but I might have been a bit like, well, mental dude, yeah, whatever, and ran away.
mm.
But it's like we ended the conversation and he felt a bit more relaxed. And it's like, yeah, that's harmless.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I think, yeah, I 100% that like uh it changes the shape of you. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that like the confrontingness of it all, and it takes a really long time to get. I say get through, but I mean um even now, there's times when you do still get overwhelmed about how just broken you are and how far you are from the place you thought you were supposed to be. And then you kind of and with time you get to recognize, oh, this is the same room, these are the same ideas that I've been going through, these aren't helpful, maybe I should do something else.
yeah. Because it is a matter of you've got to work on accepting who you are. And so then it
Mm,
becomes easier to start accepting who other people are.
mm, mhm.
It is like, and I may have mentioned before that it's kind of a grief for who you thought you were, who you wanted to be.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
you
huge
grieve
grief.
that, and then you have to go, okay, well, this is who I am and what I am, and
Mm,
accepting it. And I think understanding that your fundamental self hasn't changed. You're
mm.
still the same amazing, hilarious, intelligent person that you've always been. You're still those things. You're still amazing, and
Whatever
everyone
helps you sleep at night.
everyone is still very lucky to have me.
Mm.
They should thank me just for being me, of course. But
Did I mention that I'm Napoleon?
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think it does make you more open to accepting other people. And like,
Oh yeah.
when I've talked to, boomers and closed-minded people, that when a new thing happens, you don't have to understand it to accept it.
Mm,
Like people get up in arms about they them pronouns and different identities and things. It's You may not understand it, you may be confused by it, you may question it, but you can still just accept it.
mm.
you know
Yeah, yeah.
if somebody says I'm going by they them pronouns, okay, it does not affect me at all, but it makes them feel more accepted, makes them feel part of the world as they identify. There's literally no harm in it.
There was something I've seen about like, I'm not talking about like your general, just, slightly not had the time to think about themselves boomers, like the really like aggressively mean
Yes.
ones.
Yeah.
And they're like, like hardcore right leaning people.
Yeah.
And they're saying that they're the type of people that can't enjoy their lunch unless they know someone else is going hungry.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
And that it's that idea that, oh, if some kid is shitting in a bathroom, that means that takes away from my okayness, I guess. I don't know, it's like it's that you can't just like.
It's that they're always right, and
Mm,
their way of doing things and their way of seeing the world is right. And everyone that's not agreeing with that is doing it on purpose to spite them and to
mm.
offend them.
And I think part of like being given your spaz card in the interview process is like, have you grieved the person that society told you were supposed to be? Are they dead? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the thing, is that like you really are dealing with the complete death of your concept as a quote unquote normal functioning contributing
Yeah.
member of
Yeah.
society. And
Discarding that
then
expectation, and not just discarding it, or being accepting of the fact that you can't achieve that, and it's questioning whether that is even worth trying to achieve in the first place.
because
Like
all
for,
of a
like you say,
sudden.
for normal people, is getting that expensive house and going on the flash holidays and owning all the whatever,
mm,
is that actually something to strive for, or is it about enjoying the people around you and being a nice person and doing things that feed your soul, as you know.
And I
It's
think, the pandemic gave a lot of people a tiny taste of that. And there was, the whole great resignation and like, why am I actually spending 5 hours a week in traffic? And
for sure.
all of a sudden, and it's you know, the late stage capitalism of it all, especially in America now, where like my friend is really struggling with like suicidal ideation and stuff, and he cannot access basic SSRIs, like
Right.
the tiniest building blocks of healthcare. He's just like can't get to
That's
because of money.
terrifying.
I know, it's so, and so you can see why an entire generation of people is like, wait, what the fuck? And then the boomers are like, well, it worked for me.
Yes, yeah. Do you know, sometimes I have to not think about the world. I have to go like, I can't watch any more news and I can't think any more about the future
Mm,
because it is terrifying. Like, I don't want to get political into our local elections, our national, but our recent elections. The the changes that they're looking at making affect people in such bad ways.
mm,
Like, it will make, well off people or top tier income earners, make them very happy.
mm-hmm.
But the amount of healthcare workers that I've talked to that have gone, there's going to be so many people who are screwed, particularly disabled people. Because, do you know, like with disability benefits, one
Mm,
of the things they're looking at changing is not having a doctor decide you are or not capable of working, but the caseworkers at the WINS office who have got no medical training, who are like just, and I don't mean that derogatory, but just office workers. They're not
mm.
trained to
Yeah,
identify
not a doctor.
capability like that. No, like if they look at me walking in and I've got all my limbs and I've got my faculties,
Mm,
they uh, could look at me and go, oh yeah, you're capable. And it's like, okay, if they said do 1 day a week at work and go, okay, let's say a Monday, like I have a seizure on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, that Monday is likely not going to be possible. Then,
mm.
so it could be 2 months before I manage to make it in on one Monday. And it's like, well, that's going to be a successful employment. And then if I'm there, I'm, I have a seizure and I fall down at work, then I disrupt everything and I am incapable of working. If I'm sitting there and I have absent seizures, then I'm sitting there doing data entry or whatever. I'm just going to be that random crap.
Yeah, all of a sudden, all of the cells in Excel just say, Naomi likes pies. Naomi likes pies.
It's nah.
And I mean, I've heard of people, or I've read like things in the UK where they did this kind of thing where they shifted it to like a third party company
Right,
basically,
right.
and there was somebody whose job it was to give you the phone interview that like decided if you were capable or not. And they'd be like, oh well, do you sit and read your child a bedtime story at night? And then
Mm,
go, well yeah. And they go, well then you can obviously sit and work for 20 minutes at a time. And you're
right.
like, and it will become
It's
that way. And
Yeah,
the
it's very different.
and
And
all
like
of the stuff that
reading your kid a bedtime story, you can collapse, lie down, stop whenever that you need to.
Mhm.
You don't have the option if it's working. If your employment is going on a Monday and work for 20 minutes and you get there and go, I need to lie down because I'm broken. It's like it's just not feasible. It has
And
to be
the
medical
all of the
people.
other policies are like removing free student travel and it's all of this like taking away from people who didn't earn it, so they didn't deserve it.
Yeah. And
And
and and like with minimum wage as well, they're looking at, you've got your wages increase and then benefit increase. And it used to be that the benefit increase would match. And what the
mm,
current government is going to do is like, no, it'll be I think that was wage increases, benefits going to be inflation increases. So that gap between earners and poverty is going to become greater. And they're
mhm,
looking at getting rid of free prescriptions as well.
mm.
And so your lower income earners generally are going to be the ones with more health issues like us that need more prescriptions.
So
So the
like and
people,
subscribe so we can get money.
yes, please.
Sorry,
the,
I interrupted.
But like no, but the people who are affected by things like prescriptions
Hmm.
are already bottom tier, and it's like
Well, this and the thing that gets me is like, so for people who don't live in New Zealand, we used to have a prescription charge that was $8 every time you needed a prescription filled. That was how much your tablets cost from the
mm.
pharmacy.
And like
And that,
if you had three scripts, like three different pills, it would
yeah,
be that on each one. Yeah.
yeah, it'd be like 8, 16, 24, which is still compared to America so cheap.
Yes. Yeah.
And that the fact that they have taken, like, I don't know, it just seems like it's one of those things where like, oh, $8 a prescription is not that much money if you make 200 grand a year, which anyone who's a person that deserves consideration is fine.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's the entire rest of society who are like, wait, what? Oh, you're in
Yeah.
charge now. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll
And see, they
just
only
get
recently,
that.
yeah. I mean, they recently changed it to free prescriptions, and that
Mm.
surprised me. I went in to get my meds and had my card ready, and she's like, "No, for the time being, it's free until the elections." And it's like, okay, here we go. And subsidized travel and subsidized medications and benefit punishments. Sorry, we can't work properly.
It's
And
yeah, it's the whole, I think it's the whole idea that as much as I had my issues with Labor's neoliberal leanings, there was the idea that like every person, no matter where they come from, what shape they are, what color they are, deserves a very basic minimum standard of care.
yeah, yeah,
And that there is like in this idea in like nursing and in care work of the duty of care, that like as a support worker, I have a duty of care to make sure that the person I'm looking after doesn't actively hurt themselves. Like I
yeah,
can't restrain them, but I can reach out and stop them if they're running into traffic because I have a duty, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And those things where you're like, let's put in subsidized travel for disabled people, and that we as a society have a duty to those who are least able to support, that we should do something. And then you have the other type brand of people who are like, actually, I don't think we do. I think our duty is to the shareholder and other rich people. That's the duty.
yeah, and myself. Like, why should I assist
And
people?
yeah, and me. I have I mentioned how amazing I am recently? I should get more money. Yes, yes, I should.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like I think I must surround myself with really good people because I don't know anybody like in my social circle or anyone that I'm connected with who thinks any of that is a good idea. You know, everybody
Mm.
I know thinks that people deserve a roof over their head, people deserve assistance to healthcare, that, people should have subsidies when they need it. I don't know anybody who thinks differently. And
And I
yet
think
our
that
new
if you spoke to the people who do think differently, I don't think they would view themselves so villainously either, you know?
no, no. Yeah, that
I'm
it's
sure they would be
very
like, oh yeah, no, if you've got a proper disability, you deserve something. But there's all these people scamming the system, you know? Or they're like, they will have their own like good,
justification
yeah,
to it.
justification. Yeah, that's what I'm
Mm-mm.
looking for.
And the thing with the whole dole bludgers and that, it's like if this is all the benefits in New Zealand, this much is, this big chunk of it here is pensions, which
Mm,
isn't a benefit, but it's under the benefits banner. And so
mm,
the biggest chunk is pensions. So take that out. The bit that's left, this many is genuine. This
mm,
is the amount of dole bludgers.
mm.
There's not actually that much. And I would rather one person be taken advantage if it means that one person is getting assistance.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know, like
And
with
it's
food banks,
it's
people go like, oh, some people go to the food bank and they don't need it, they just don't want to spend money. And it's like, okay, the people who do that are very few and far between. Not many people who can afford food queue up at a food bank because they
like
want it.
who it's like the thing in the States about people voting twice or whatever. Like people don't do that. No one's gonna be like, I'm gonna save $60 this week and get some basics by queuing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my clever ploy.
Yeah, I might get some rice and some beans. Ha ha ha, that was
Oh,
good.
how about some unpackaged lentils?
Yeah. And it's like I say, if it means that one person takes advantage and one person gets the assistance they need, I don't care. I think that's fine. Because
And
the
like the thing is,
majority
one
are in need.
person's doesn't want to pay for it is another person's deciding whether or not they're gonna have heating today.
Exactly.
Like in the
Yeah.
UK, I overheard my mother-in-law talking about how because so many old people are getting cold there because no one can afford the energy prices for
Mhm.
heating and stuff. They're talking about heat the person, not the room. So there's all these like electric rechargeable jackets that you can get to like and like little warmable blankets instead of saying maybe energy firms shouldn't gouge their customers.
Yeah. It's like dystopian things wrapped up as something wholesome.
Mm,
You know,
exactly.
it's like we can give you this lovely warm jacket that will, solve all your problems. And it's like, yeah, but the dystopia behind that is everybody's screwed and freezing and dying of hypothermia. And it's
Uh,
like, the bit that you're told is so very wholesome, like with the food banks. And there's a picture in the UK, and I can't remember which MP or politician, but there was opening of a new food bank with the red ribbon, and they're there with the scissors to open the food bank, and it's all big smiles, and it's like, yay, a food bank that we can feed people with. So yeah, wholesome. The dystopia behind that of people need fucking food banks.
mm.
That's awful. That's a terrible situation. But it's like, yay, good front page of the paper, nice little feel good article. It's like
Yeah,
the
no,
fact that
it's
the
bizarre.
need
Yeah,
for food banks,
the fact that that even exists as a thing,
yeah,
like
as a
really, it really
necessity.
shouldn't. It should not
And
be a necessity.
and another thing that's always, sort of seen as good is the food banks that like the supermarket style ones. So people are given a number of credits and the food bank is set up like a supermarket and people can go in and so they've got choice of what food from the food bank. And
Oh,
it's still
that's good.
basics, it's not fancy things, but it gives the people who are in need of it a bit of a sense of dignity and control because
Hmm.
they're not just, please sir, can I have some more?
Yeah,
They're
and here's
using,
another bag of lentils that you don't
yeah,
eat, and
yeah.
your child that yeah, that your child won't eat. You can get
Yeah. So they can
something that you
actually,
need.
yeah, and they can feel like they're shopping, and it's an awesome way of dealing with a shit problem. Again, it's dystopia dressed up as wholesome,
Mm.
and it's sickening. And this is one of the reasons why I can't think about the world and can't think about the future because it seems that as humankind, we're all fucked. It's all fucked. We're all screwed. We're all going to die in misery. What is the point?
You know what we need to do? We need to start like we need to go back to the 60s, right? And just drive a van around giving everyone acid.
Yeah, drugs
Just
is the result. Yeah.
that does seem to be our fallback on this podcast. Maybe that's because we know the healing power of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. And when things get too much, you can just hide from the world and go, oh, just going to take some drugs and go to sleep. Solves everything.
Yeah,
Just go to sleep.
just go to
Just that
sleep.
blissful oblivion.
Just yeah, just
That's,
the little death.
this sounds like we're advocating for euthanasia, which I think is
Which
perfectly
we do,
valid.
which we do.
I do. Look, euthanasia, brilliant. I think brilliant. But I think it's very, very valid. And when things get to that point, 100%
I
euthanasia is
also think that as a society, you should get one that you're able to hand out, where you're like, you've had enough.
yeah.
You're done.
Shush now.
Shh,
Here
shh,
you go. Everything will be fine in the morning.
just walk into that booth and have a wee lie down. Everything will be great.
But you could just do it randomly, like walking down the street. Bam, death card.
Yeah.
Screwed.
Maybe
Yeah.
everybody gets one a year. And so like you constantly have to be nice because if you're a dick, someone can just be like, actually.
Yeah. So rather than your social ranking giving you access to things in a bit of a Black Mirror
Mm,
style, it
yeah.
can just be instant death. Yeah.
But no, it's
Perfect.
not even your ranking. It's like one bad and one Karening, you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So one having to go at a cafe worker.
Yeah,
Bam.
exactly.
Card.
Bang.
Carded.
Carded.
Would you do it in a
Uh,
system like a red card, like a yellow card, red card? You get a warning.
what like you get one, you get a leg chopped off.
Yeah, just an injury, like gunshot wound, but not to the head.
Kind of a somebody just drives past and just It's
Yeah.
gangland style.
We should totally get into politics.
I propose funding a system of cars that drive around looking for little yellow cars, and whenever they see one, they shoot the person that it's being waved at.
Yeah, all cars should have rifles mounted on the top for those moments when it all gets too much on top. We could solve so many problems.
And you know what we could do? Even we could even be smart about it. And instead of the rifles having to be manually operated, they'll just have like cameras on them, and we can use computer vision. So then the robots will have the ability to shoot people at a yellow card.
That's perfect. Yeah,
Nothing
we don't
can
even
go
have to
bad.
worry about it. Don't even have to put ourselves into the danger zone. We can just carry on chilling out.
Unless
taking our
somebody yellow
drugs.
cards us.
Oh yeah. How could they? We're delightful.
What if you're seizing and someone's like, oh, don't like look at that.
Yeah, true. Demon. Yeah. Oh, she's a drain on society.
Maybe we would need to properly fund education as well then, so people know how to react. There's some kind of like civics program.
You just wanting to spend the money that we've just got back with making all the tax cuts. Spending it on education and healthcare. We want to spend it on guns. What I'm trying
to do, Naomi, is I'm trying to save money on bullets for the gun system. You see, you have to fold it back around to say, really, this money we're spending on education offsets the number of shot people.
But we could use samurai swords and knives instead of bullets.
Or even knife missiles, which Raytheon makes. Have you heard about knife missiles?
No.
Yeah. So it's a non-explosive warhead. So it's a missile that goes poof, and then shoots a gajillion knives everywhere.
Like a nail bomb.
Yeah, like a nail bomb. But like guided, but like a cruise missile, that's also a nail bomb.
Well, that's like a nice mix of modern life and medieval torture. That's wonderful. That's like a step forward and backwards all at the same time. I like my death. I like my death to be clean and quick.
What's a quicker death? Cut by 1,000 knives or fireball?
Oh, not a fireball. No, not a fireball. I'd rather cut.
What about a fire tube? Knives. Fire rectangle? Fire cube? Fire square? Fire rhombus?
Oof. Now, I'd rather be shot straight through the head and just drop
than knife missile.
Knife missile, yeah. Or
one would. Okay, what would you rather them say at your funeral? Naomi was assassinated by a knife missile fired from an aircraft carrier 300 kilometers away, or was shot in the head.
It would depend if I knew it was coming. If I knew it was coming, shoot me in the head. If it was a surprise, the knives. Surprise knives.
Surprise knives.
Surprise knives. Yeah, I'd rather that. Though I've always thought that a good way that if I was going to red card myself would be to hire the hitman. But
and just be like, here's 10 grand, surprise me.
Yeah, don't tell me when it's going to happen. And it's like, oh, is it going to be today? Woo! It just adds a little bit of a game.
That's kind of like what you have with your, what's this? Is it SUDEP, the sudden unexpected death and epilepsy? That you have a permanent, like, I don't know, beige card? What's one that's like, oh.
So yeah, sudden unexpected death and epilepsy, SUDEP, is a thing where people with epilepsy die and they go, there doesn't seem to be a reason behind it. Possibly they've had some kind of seizure and stopped, but there's nothing recorded. They might have just out of nowhere just died, and it's a thing.
So you could just be instead of waking up at the ceiling of the ED, you'd wake up and be looking at the ceiling of the funeral home because you're a ghost.
100%, exactly, factual.
It's like when we were talking about with Anna, that thing of like, you know, death is so far removed from this Western decadent, you know, nightmare we all seem to be in.
It does not fit the narrative that we might die.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like in the Victorian times, death was everywhere because, you know, your third kid you have 7 kids because 4 of them are probably going to die.
Yeah.
But sex was never talked about. Whereas now sex is always everywhere on everything.
But stop it.
I've tried. Just keep getting attacked by these women.
So
it's because of the litter boxes. It wasn't like this in the 70s.
But yeah, I was thinking when you mentioned with Anna that Anna knows that she's dying. She knows that within, you know, her immediate family's lifetime, she's going to die and not be around. But even knowing that it's right there on your doorstep, it still doesn't make sense. Like, I couldn't sit here and go, oh, I could die in the next week. Okay, that's all right. Because having no personal experience of death, because you only get one go at it, you can't understand how immediate it is.
There was well, that's where like the larger doses of psilocybin for people who are terminal have kind of helped. I'm trying to remember how they put it, but it's like it's not that you come out of this world. It's that the world was always here and you're part of that world, and then the world still continues even while you're gone. It's that like, and it's that thing that we're not really separate from, we're not as separate as we think we are by any stretch of the imagination, that we are all connected, and all of this like airy fairy, very earnest, self-help store stuff is true, that we do share this connection, that love is universal. Go watch
Yeah,
Interstellar, yada yada
and it's
yada.
like a person may go, but their impact, and if people are remembering
Yeah,
that
it's
still.
all like all the feel good things, but
Mm,
at the end of the day, they're pretty true. And I think, and from my understanding is that those bigger doses of psilocybin do help with that,
mm.
which is why I think we should just dose the public water supply with LSD and
Right.
just give everyone a bit of perspective, and then they'll be as cool as us.
But the other way of looking at it is we tell ourselves all that stuff about the connections and, being part of everything. Are we saying that to make ourselves feel better? That it's not just, here I am doing life, bam, dead, gone, end of that, moving on.
Does it
Because
really
that's,
matter?
yeah, you wouldn't, I suppose, yeah, if you're just telling yourself nice things so it's not so hard to face
Yeah,
your
I mean,
imminent
like
doom.
at the end of the day, it's kind of, like, wrap it up back to thing, kids shitting in boxes. Like, if we are all just insane accidental quirks of quantum instabilities, and that there is nothing that is special or linking, and love is just some chemicals floating around, and that's the I guess you could say empirical truth, maybe like the provable truth.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or if we wrap ourselves in a blanket that our loved ones do matter and that our connections are important, like, if as long as we're having a happier time of it, then yeah.
Yeah. We're not thinking mental things. It's just little things that comfort us
Mm.
along the way. And if it makes the whole thing feel a bit nicer, and it comes back to that thing with we've talked about it before with depression, is paying attention to the little things that make you happy. And it
Mm.
actually really does make a difference, even in very small ways. If you can find something good or nice in a day that makes things just a little bit more bearable. Like if I've had a whole bunch of seizures, like the last couple of weeks have been insane and hard and difficult, and I could sit with that and go, things are insane and hard and difficult. Or I can go, oh, okay, rehearsals for the play are really good fun, and I get to sing a song and play around with my mates, and that's
Mm.
really nice. And those little things do make the day-to-day crap a lot easier. And so yeah, any little things that don't affect other people, that make you feel a bit more comfortable with life, is harmless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. And we know harm good. Like when I'm having a big pain day, one of my big ones is a hot shower and just
Right.
feeling nice. And it can take, like, if my pain's really bad, when I first get into the shower, that pressure of the water hurts because get allodynia, and I have to kind of like wince my way through it. And
Wow.
then I'm like, oh, okay, there's the heat. It feels nice. The water is streaming down, and
I
yeah.
suppose it's similar to like my thing that makes me feel better is going to the gym,
Mm,
because weak and useless at home, strong and
mm,
capable at the gym. But that when I'm exhausted and have been battered and bruised and feeling like crap, the thought of leaving the house and going to the gym and doing things that are hard work is like, okay, I've just got to get there. And I start lifting the first weights, and it's like, oh, this is so hard. And then it's like, okay, get through that bit. And now I can do a decent workout. And now I can feel good. And now I can carry on. And so,
well,
yeah.
I've been going to the gym for a few weeks now,
Mm,
almost 5 or 6. I have slightly different. I have muscles in places I didn't used to, so it's
right.
working.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can now feel like when my nervous system is going crazy. I've got that. But then beneath that, there's like a feeling of, oh no, I could do a couple press ups. Like I'm in a
Right.
lot of pain, but I'm not as broken.
Yeah,
Like my
yeah, yeah.
physicality is a little bit tuned up.
And there's somewhere about if you're gymming and recognizing good pain, it's like every day you've got bad pain, and then you can put pain that you've got control over. You've kind of caused it in a healthy way, and it's like balancing that control. You can't control this crappy pain, but this one is under your control. It's I don't know. I think it's more manageable. Like if I've got a black eye and a big lump on my head, that really hurts. If I've got achy legs from doing too much of the gym, it's like, yeah, I did that because I'm strong and powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I know exactly. And that like that soreness from a good day's workout is a good one.
yeah.
Well, speaking of which, it's about time for me to go to the gym. I should probably
Me
get
too.
dressed and go to the
Yeah,
gym.
yeah. You shouldn't do
Well,
podcasts.
thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe, leave the review, do the things, and we'll see you guys next time.
Wonderful. Bye.